Hi, and welcome to my video blog, Coronavirus and Our Hierarchy of Needs, or Why It's Time for a Kinder, Gentler Capitalism. Got a very short PowerPoint presentation, and then I'm just going to talk for a bit. Something I remember studying in university and that I used in a book I wrote on copywriting is called Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. Maslov was a humanistic psychologist, Abraham Maslov. He claimed that human beings are motivated by unsatisfied needs, which he placed within a hierarchy. Working up from the bottom of the hierarchy, individuals must satisfy a lower need before they are motivated to fulfill the higher needs. For instance, the need for safety cannot be satisfied until the physiological need, food and water, is met. So if you don't have anything to drink or anything to eat, you will put yourself at risk to get food, to get water. The need for love cannot be satisfied until the need for safety is met. So until you feel safe, you can't love somebody, you can't love your fellow human beings, and so on. I'm going to show you the full hierarchy and then relate it to what's going on with the coronavirus and relate that to my call for a kinder, gentler capitalism. Here is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm going to start at the bottom. Your primary need is physiological: food, air, and water. If you don't have them, you can't do anything else. You can't eat, you die. You can't drink, you die. You can't breathe, you die. Once you satisfy those needs, you can then move on to safety. Physical: where are you living? And psychological: what are you thinking? How do you relate to others? You can work on satisfying both your physical and psychological needs. I would suggest to you, you have to satisfy your physical needs, a place to live where you feel secure, before you can work on satisfying your psychological needs. Once those needs are satisfied, you can work on satisfying the need for love, affection, and belonging to a community, finding a partner, getting along with others. And once those needs are satisfied, I'm not saying it's easy, but you can work on it. You can look at satisfying the need for esteem, being honored, highly regarded. You know, I have a great job, I do my job well. People say to me, "We applaud you, you do a really good job. We regard you highly." And once those needs are satisfied, and I would suggest that a lot of people don't satisfy those needs in normal times, you can move on to self-actualization, which I would suggest nobody actually ever does. Fully realizing one's human individual potential. You see a lot of really rich people trying to self-actualize through meditation, strange yoga. The Beatles at their height went to India. They were attempting to self-actualize. Either that or people become really greedy pigs and just want to accumulate as much money. But they feel like they're self-actualizing through richness, wealth, and acquiring things. So self-actualization is something that's really freaking difficult to do in the best of times. In fact, I would suggest that very few people ever self-actualize. A lot of us, we get esteem, we're honored, we're highly regarded, for our works of art, for our social work, our donations to charity, helping our fellow human beings. Many of us find love. We have a partner, we find affection, we belong to a community. But none of that happens until your physiological needs, food, air, and water, are satisfied. And then your physical needs for safety is satisfied, and then your psychological needs. So that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. With the coronavirus, I would suggest to you we need to focus on safety and physiological needs. We need food, air, and water. We're self-isolating. We still need to eat, breathe, and drink. We need our food delivered, or we have to shop in a safe manner to gather food. And we need to live someplace while maintaining our distance. We need our physical needs satisfied. Our psychological needs, difficult to satisfy when you can't interact with people, but we're using social media, at least in the Western world, to try to satisfy our psychological needs. You see artists who have to perform, giving solo performances. What they're really trying to do is satisfy their psychological need to reach out and find an audience and perform. We still need our physical needs. We need to live someplace. With that in mind, I am calling for a kinder, gentler capitalism that focuses on helping all of us satisfy our safety needs and our physiological needs. Banks, you should not be foreclosing on people who have lost their jobs and cannot afford to pay their mortgages. Landlords, you should not be evicting tenants who have lost their jobs, are making no money, and can't afford to pay their rent. I am suggesting that the government needs to stand up and say, excuse us, we have to put capitalism as we know it to bed. People need a place to live. We should not be evicting anybody. And I don't expect the capitalists, the banks, and the landlords to do that. They're just not psychologically attuned to that way of thinking. I am a Canadian, and I applaud Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, for his articulateness as every day he talks to Canada and tells us what the government is doing and how we can best deal with this crisis. I'm saying he needs to go beyond that. He's saying, here we're going to give people who are out of work money, unemployment benefits, and people who normally wouldn't qualify for it, we're going to give them money. We're going to enable them to qualify for money so that they can afford to buy food. I applaud that. I think that's great. I think we need to go beyond that. I think we have to say circumstances are so freaking extraordinary that we have to put capitalism as we know it to bed. We need a kinder, gentler form of capitalism. A lot of our major grocery stores are paying their workers dividends. These people show up for work every day. They're dealing with us as we need to get our food. They're putting themselves at risk, so they're getting bonuses. Terrific, great. I would ask the grocery stores to go even further. First of all, let's shut down the stock market so you don't have to worry about your quarterly profits. You don't have to worry about paying dividends. You don't have to worry about the price of your stock. I am asking grocery stores to lower the price of food to the point where all they're doing is recouping their costs. Yes, making no profit at all. Pay your workers, pay them bonuses. They're doing one hell of a job. I thank them every time I shop. But we need to lower the price of food. We have literally millions of people losing their jobs. They have no money coming in except the money that the government can give them. But the government, where does it get its money? They get it from the workers and they get it from businesses. So, Justin Trudeau, I applaud you for saying, here, we're going to be giving people money. I am saying, cut rents, cut mortgages, lower the cost of living so you can lower the amount of money you have to give people, because all you're doing is giving us back our money, which we can no longer afford to give you. So governments are going to run up millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, trillions of dollars in debt to sustain the capitalist system as we know it. That makes no sense at all. I'm saying kinder, gentler capitalism. Cut dramatically the cost of living, the cost of physical safety where we live, and understand that banks and landlords and major corporations won't be making the money they used to make. But how many small businesses have shut down? We can't afford to buy stuff. So how many even bigger businesses are shutting down? I'm saying let's make real what is happening. Should people who have money pay their mortgages? Sure. Should they dip into savings if they have a decent nest egg to pay their mortgages? Sure. But let's cut the interest rates on the mortgages. And those people who don't have money, let's not punish them. Cut the cost of food. Grocery stores, you won't make profits. And in fact, you can even cut what you're paying your employees if they don't have to pay rent and mortgages, or if that's cut, if their costs of food are cut. I applaud the bonuses that you're giving them, and I think they're deserving of it. Where we need to put our money, though, is into the farmers and the distribution system. Farmers should not have to pay for seed or fertilizer. And we can applaud them and thank them for continuing to grow food. Cut their costs dramatically so they don't need to charge as much for the food they deliver to the supply chain that gets to the grocery stores, so they can cut their costs. And all this prefab, prepackaged food that companies are making, forget it. We need to get down to basics. So from the farm to the distribution chain to the grocery store to people, whole foods, foods we can eat. Enough with this canned, packaged, processed food, which takes money to create. We need a simpler existence. We need dramatically lowered prices. We need to take care of our need for food. The irony is our air is cleaner because industry isn't polluting as much, so we can breathe, and we're still getting water, thankfully, but we need to cut the cost of our food. And we don't need to kick anybody out of their house, their apartment, because they can't afford it. Hey, Jeff Bezos, you're the world's richest man. Continue to pay your mortgage, but there's only one Jeff Bezos. The rest of us, the millions of people who are out of work can't afford life. I'm a pensioner. I'm 65 years old. I get a government pension. If the government said to me, Paul, we need to cut your pension by 25%, 30, 40, 50% in order to give more money to more people, I would say, I have no problem with that as long as you cut what I have to pay for food and living. So what comes around goes around, or what goes around comes around. Give me less money. That's cool. But make sure I don't have to pay more. And in fact, make sure I have to pay less to live and survive. Kinder, gentler capitalism. Justin, you are articulate. You're reassuring. Pat on the back for that. But it is time to step back and say, what does this coronavirus outbreak really mean for us as a society? It means we have to do more with less. So I'm starting literally with the cost of seed. I don't know who makes seed, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making seed to give to the farmers to plant. But cut the cost. Your companies in this time of crisis do not need to profit from it. I don't know who makes fertilizer, but cut the profit margin off it, give it to the farmers for next to nothing. So they can cut the prices on the food they supply to the food chain. Food chain, I don't know what you charge, what you mark up as you pass food along to the grocery stores. I am saying to you, cut your need for profit, cut the prices of the food to as low as you can to cover the legitimate costs that are required to move the food along the chain. In grocery stores, pay your workers, I applaud them, a fair wage, but cut your profits to nothing. And if you're saying, hey, if we lower the cost of food, people will run in and just pull things off the shelf, I don't mind you limiting how much I can take. I bought 5 packages of English muffins, and the cashier said, sir, I'm sorry, but we're limiting baked goods to 4 per person. I happily gave her 1 package back. Put restrictions in place on toilet paper, on food. These are strange, bizarre times. When they end, hell, if they end, we can go back to being capitalist pigs, polluting the earth and making as much money as we can make, being money grubbing, polluting, greedy pigs. Let's get through this, though, before we go back to who we were. Now, I personally don't think we should go back to who we were, but I'm willing to have that discussion with you after we get through this coronavirus pandemic. I am calling for a kinder, gentler, more affordable capitalism. One that says, to hell with profits, we have to take care of the physiological needs of people: food, air, and water. And we have to take care of the physical safety needs of people: a place to live, and yes, a police force, maybe even the armed forces if things get really freaking bad, to enforce what is necessary for us to get through it. But I am suggesting to you a kinder, gentler, less profitable, far less profitable capitalism will decrease the the demand, the insanity, the craziness will make people feel psychologically safer. And we'll feel that way if we know our physiological needs, that we can take care of them, and our physical safety needs, a place to live, that too is being taken care of. Kinder, gentler, less profitable capitalism. Let's get through this coronavirus together. We need to do more. Justin, thank you for being such a reassuring Prime Minister. It is time to take a step back and say, how do we reshape Canada? Dare I say, how do we reshape the world so that we can take care of the health of our population? Nurses, doctors, other healthcare professionals, I applaud the work you're doing. And I am saying our government should put as much support into what you're doing as you need. And the only way we can afford to do that is through a kinder, gentler, less profitable capitalism, one that focuses on our physiological needs, cutting the cost of food through the entire chain, eliminating the profit, one that focuses on ensuring we feel physically safe. Because if we feel physically safe, we will also feel psychologically safe too. So that's what I'm calling for. Kinder, gentler, less profitable capitalism. Hey, you notice I've avoided using the S word, socialism. I'm not calling for socialism. I am saying capitalism has to change because the times in which we live have changed dramatically. And if we don't change our economy to reflect those times, then I am afraid we are going to find ourselves at war with each other, at war with the companies that want to continue to profit, at war with our government. We are at war with the coronavirus, and that is the only freaking war we need right now. Flatten the curve, eliminate the virus, but make sure people have the food they need to survive, the medical attention they need to survive, and someplace to live. Thank you for watching. If you agree with me, please feel free to forward this video to whomever you think should see it. And if you agree or disagree with me and want to talk to me by email, my email address is paullima.com, paullima.com @gmail.com. Feel free to send me an email, paullima.com @gmail.com. Kinder, gentler, less profitable, far less profitable capitalism. That is the only way we are going to get through this coronavirus pandemic. Thank you. Be safe. Bye now.